What if the reason your hair is thinning after 50 has less to do with genetics and more to do with timing? Not expensive treatments, not harsh chemicals, just one simple habit before bed that works with your body instead of against it. If you're over 50 and you've noticed your hair losing volume, becoming finer, or shedding more than it used to, stay with me closely. Because what I'm about to explain could completely change how you think about hair regrowth. And before we go any further, I'd love for you to comment your age and the country you're watching from. It helps us see who this information is reaching and who it's helping most. Let's start with something most people never consider when it comes to hair growth hormone. After the age of 50, your body naturally produces less of it. And that decline doesn't just affect muscle tone or metabolism, it directly impacts your hair follicles. Growth hormone is deeply involved in cellular repair and regeneration. Your hair follicles rely on it to stay active, strong, and productive. When levels drop, follicles slowly shift into a dormant phase. That's when thinning begins. That's when growth slows. And that's why so many people assume it's just normal aging. But here's the fascinating part. Your body still releases growth hormone. In fact, it peaks naturally during deep sleep. The problem isn't that it disappears. The problem is that most people don't support that surge in a strategic way. Timing is everything. When you provide the right nutrient before bed, you align with your body's natural repair cycle. You amplify what's already happening instead of fighting against biology. Hair follicles are constantly repairing themselves. Every strand grows from a follicle that depends on a steady flow of amino acids, minerals, vitamins, and hormonal signals. Think of growth hormone as the conductor of an orchestra. It signals follicles to move from rest into active growth. Without strong signaling, follicles hesitate, they shrink, they produce thinner strands. This is exactly what many seniors experience. Now imagine combining two powerful factors at once, encouraging natural growth hormone release and delivering the raw nutrients follicles need at the exact moment they are most receptive. That's where the nightly spoonful comes in. It's not a gimmick, it's synchronization. When hormonal signaling and nutrient availability align, you remove two of the biggest barriers to regrowth after 50. There's another layer most people ignore: circulation. Healthy blood flow to the scalp is essential. Without oxygen and nutrient delivery, follicles simply can't perform. Growth hormone, when optimized, improves microcirculation throughout the body, including the scalp. Better circulation means nutrients are delivered more efficiently, and when you consume that nutrient-dense spoon before bed, you're essentially activating the body's internal delivery system right when it's primed to work. Sleep is when repair intensifies. Growth hormone peaks during deep sleep stages. Nutrients taken earlier in the day are often redirected toward energy production or other bodily demands, but taken before bed, they align with your repair window. Hormone surge, nutrient presence, follicle receptivity, all happening together. That synergy is powerful. The beauty of this strategy is its simplicity. No invasive procedures, no costly treatments, no chemicals, just working with your biology. One small adjustment, done consistently, can help reactivate sluggish follicles, strengthen existing strands, and support overall hormonal balance. And once you understand how timing unlocks hormonal potential, the next question becomes even more important. What exactly are these nutrients that your follicles are desperately waiting for? That's where the real transformation begins. Essential fatty acids add another dimension to this entire process, and they are often underestimated, especially after 50. Omega-3 and omega-6 fats are not just heart-healthy nutrients. They are structural components of your cell membranes, including the cells that make up your scalp and hair follicles. When these fats are lacking, the scalp becomes dry, less flexible, and more prone to irritation. Hair strands lose their natural shine and elasticity. They become brittle, easier to snap, and slower to grow. When you deliver a concentrated source of these essential fats before bed, something subtle but powerful happens. During sleep, your body shifts away from high energy demands and toward repair and regeneration. That means the nutrients you provide are more likely to be incorporated into rebuilding tissues instead of being burned for fuel. The fatty acids integrate into follicle cell membranes, improving hydration, flexibility, and inflammatory balance. Over time, this creates a scalp environment that is far more supportive of sustained growth. But fats and amino acids are only part of the equation. Micronutrients quietly control nearly every reaction taking place inside a follicle. Enzymes require specific vitamins and minerals to activate processes like DNA replication, protein synthesis, and cellular division. Vitamin B6, for example, is necessary to metabolize amino acids into usable building blocks. Zinc enables proper DNA copying inside rapidly dividing follicle cells. Selenium strengthens antioxidant defenses so follicles can operate without damage. As we age, enzyme efficiency naturally declines. That means even if you're eating reasonably well, your body may not convert nutrients into active forms as effectively as it once did. This is why a concentrated, nutrient-dense spoonful taken consistently can compensate for that decline. It provides a direct supply of bioavailable compounds that follicles can immediately utilize during the overnight repair window. When follicles are consistently supplied with these building blocks, you begin to notice tangible changes. Hair feels thicker between your fingers, it holds its shape better, shedding slows, the scalp feels healthier, less tight, less irritated. These changes don't happen overnight, but they compound. Each night becomes another opportunity for reinforcement. There's also an important connection between systemic nutrition and local scalp health. When your body lacks adequate nutrients, it prioritizes vital organs like the brain and heart. Hair becomes secondary. That's why thinning can be an early sign of broader nutritional gaps. By intentionally feeding your follicles at the most strategic time of day, you remove that competition, you give them dedicated support when the rest of the body is in restoration mode. This nutrient-focused strategy also helps reduce oxidative stress at the follicle level. Hair growth requires rapid cell turnover, and that process naturally generates free radicals. Without adequate antioxidant support, those free radicals accumulate and damage follicle cells. Over time, this weakens the growth cycle. Nutrients rich in antioxidants neutralize these free radicals, protecting the delicate structures responsible for producing each strand. When you combine amino acids, essential fats, collagen support, and micronutrient activation in one consistent nightly habit, you create a foundation that most seniors simply never establish. And once that foundation is in place, follicles finally have the materials they need to respond to growth signals. But there's another silent force that can completely undermine all of this progress, no matter how well you nourish your body. It's not always visible, it doesn't cause immediate pain, yet it steadily shrinks follicles, restricts blood flow, and interrupts the growth cycle. That force is chronic inflammation, and if it isn't addressed, even perfect nutrition won't deliver the results you're hoping for. That force is chronic inflammation, and it could be the hidden reason your hair refuses to grow the way it used to. Most people think of inflammation as something you feel in your joints or muscles, but low-grade, persistent inflammation can quietly exist in the scalp for years without obvious symptoms. And when it does, it slowly disrupts the entire hair growth cycle. Follicles begin to shrink, blood flow becomes restricted, growth phases shorten, shedding increases. Over time, density visibly declines. After 50, this becomes even more common. Diet, stress, environmental toxins, hormonal shifts, all of these factors contribute to a subtle inflammatory state in the body, and the scalp is not immune. In fact, hair follicles are extremely sensitive to inflammatory signals. Even mild, ongoing inflammation can push follicles into a dormant phase. At the cellular level, inflammation triggers the release of compounds called cytokines. These signaling molecules interfere directly with follicle function. They can prematurely shift follicles out of the active growth phase and into the resting phase. That means hair not only grows slower, but falls out sooner. And if this process continues unchecked, follicles gradually miniaturize. Here's why your nighttime habit becomes so powerful. Certain nutrient-dense foods contain natural anti-inflammatory compounds. When consumed before sleep during the body's repair window, they help calm inflammatory signals right at the moment when regeneration should be happening. Instead of follicles receiving stress messages, they receive recovery signals. When inflammation decreases, circulation improves. Micro blood vessels feeding the scalp open more efficiently. oxygen delivery increases. Nutrient transport becomes smoother. Remember, follicles depend on steady blood flow. When circulation is compromised by inflammation, the body diverts resources to more critical systems. Hair becomes a low priority. By reducing inflammation at night, you indirectly improve nutrient delivery to follicles. Over time, this creates a scalp environment that supports growth rather than suppressing it. And consistency is key. The effects build gradually, night after night, allowing follicles to regain stability. There's also a powerful connection between inflammation and stress hormones. Elevated cortisol, which becomes more common with age, intensifies inflammatory activity in the scalp. High cortisol can push follicles into rest mode and disrupt the natural rhythm of growth. But here's the strategic advantage. Cortisol naturally drops during deep sleep. Growth hormone rises. This creates a perfect window to counteract inflammation. When you provide anti-inflammatory nutrients right before bed, you reinforce that natural shift. Cortisol declines, growth hormone surges, inflammatory signals calm. Follicles finally receive a clear message to repair and regenerate instead of retreat. Another important factor is oxidative stress. Chronic inflammation accelerates the production of free radicals. These unstable molecules damage follicle cells, weaken the root structure, and impair new strand formation. Over time, this oxidative damage contributes to thinning and fragility. Many anti-inflammatory nutrients also contain antioxidants. These compounds neutralize free radicals before they can harm follicle structures. This dual action, reducing inflammation and lowering oxidative stress, creates a protective shield around your follicles during their most active repair phase. What makes this approach so effective is that it removes a barrier. If inflammation remains unchecked, even the best nutrition and optimal hormone levels won't translate into visible regrowth. But when you calm that internal disruption, follicles can finally respond fully to growth signals. And once inflammation is reduced, circulation improves, and nutrients are available, there's one more powerful system that determines how thick or thin your hair becomes: your hormones. Because after 50, hormonal shifts don't just influence metabolism or mood. They directly control the life cycle of every single hair follicle on your scalp. Because after 50, hormonal shifts don't just influence your energy levels or mood, they directly control the life cycle of every single hair follicle on your scalp. Hair growth is deeply hormonal. Every follicle responds to signals from estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, thyroid hormones, insulin, cortisol, and growth hormone. When these hormones are balanced, follicles stay in their active growth phase longer. When they fluctuate or decline, follicles shorten their growth cycle, shrink in size, and produce thinner strands. Let's start with estrogen. Estrogen helps prolong the anagen phase, the active growth stage of hair. It keeps strands thicker and growing for a longer period of time. After menopause, estrogen levels naturally decline. As that happens, the growth phase shortens. Hair may begin to shed faster than it regrows. Volume decreases gradually, almost quietly. Progesterone also plays a role. It supports healthy scalp circulation and helps counterbalance certain androgen effects that can shrink follicles. As progesterone drops with age, follicles become more vulnerable to miniaturization. Now consider thyroid hormones. The thyroid regulates metabolic activity at the cellular level, including inside hair follicles. When thyroid activity slows, which is increasingly common after 50, keratin production slows, hair becomes thinner, weaker, and slower to regenerate. Even mild thyroid inefficiency can affect density. This is where the nightly nutrient strategy becomes more than just nourishment, it becomes hormonal support. Nutrients like zinc and selenium are required for proper thyroid hormone production and conversion. Amino acids serve as building blocks for hormone synthesis. When you provide these nutrients before sleep, you support the endocrine system during its natural repair phase. Insulin is another hormone that rarely gets discussed in hair conversations, yet it has a powerful influence. When blood sugar remains elevated, insulin levels rise. High insulin can increase androgen activity, which may shrink follicles and accelerate thinning. Stabilizing blood sugar in the evening reduces this risk. A nutrient-dense spoonful before bed can help prevent nighttime blood sugar spikes, supporting a more stable hormonal environment. Cortisol, the stress hormone, is equally important. Chronically elevated cortisol pushes follicles into their resting phase and suppresses growth. It also increases inflammation, compounding the problem. During deep sleep, cortisol naturally drops while growth hormone rises. That shift creates a powerful regenerative window. By delivering the right nutrients at that exact time, you reinforce the body's natural rhythm. Instead of fighting hormonal decline, you work alongside it. Nutrients that support adrenal balance help modulate cortisol. Minerals like magnesium contribute to nervous system stability. This combination helps follicles remain in growth mode rather than retreating into dormancy. Growth hormone deserves special attention here. It peaks during deep sleep and acts as a master regulator of cellular repair. When follicles are supplied with amino acids and supportive nutrients at the same time growth hormone surges, they can fully respond to its signals. Without raw materials, hormonal signals go unanswered. With proper nourishment, those signals translate into visible change. Over weeks of consistency, something shifts. Shedding may slow, strands feel denser, the scalp feels more balanced, hair appears shinier and more resilient. These changes reflect improved follicle communication with systemic hormones. The key is synergy. Estrogen, thyroid hormones, growth hormone, insulin, and cortisol all interact. When one is out of balance, follicles suffer. When nutrient timing supports hormonal stability during the nighttime repair cycle, follicles regain their rhythm. And yet, even with balanced hormones, improved circulation, and reduced inflammation, aging follicles face another challenge: declining cellular efficiency. Because over decades, the follicles themselves become less responsive, less energetic, and less resilient. That's why the next layer of this strategy focuses on something even deeper, restoring follicle strength at the cellular level so they can actually perform at their highest capacity again. That's why the next layer of this strategy focuses on something even deeper, restoring follicle strength at the cellular level so they can actually perform at their highest capacity again. As hair follicles age, they don't just slow down because of hormones or nutrient gaps. They lose efficiency. Decades of oxidative stress, environmental exposure, inflammation, and metabolic wear gradually weaken their internal machinery. Even when you improve circulation and balance hormones, aging follicles may struggle to respond unless you actively support cellular repair. Think of each follicle as a tiny factory. In your younger years, that factory runs smoothly. Cells divide quickly. Protein synthesis is efficient. Structural integrity is strong. But over time, damage accumulates. Free radicals interfere with DNA replication. Cellular membranes become less stable. Energy production declines. The result? Thinner strands, slower cycles, and increased fragility. This is where targeted nighttime nutrition becomes powerful again. During deep sleep, your body activates repair pathways that are far less active during the day. Cellular cleanup processes accelerate. Damaged proteins are recycled. DNA repair mechanisms turn on. If you supply the right compounds before bed, you give your follicles the exact tools they need while those repair systems are working at full strength. Collagen plays a central role here. As we age, natural collagen production decreases significantly. The scalp loses elasticity. The structural matrix surrounding each follicle weakens. This makes hair more prone to breakage and follicles less stable at the root. Collagen peptides, when consumed before sleep, provide amino acids like glycine, proline, and hydroxyproline, essential components for rebuilding the extracellular matrix around follicles. When that matrix strengthens, follicles anchor more securely. They receive nutrients more efficiently. They respond better to hormonal signals. Over time, this structural reinforcement contributes to thicker, more resilient strands. Antioxidants are equally critical. Free radicals generated by stress, pollution, and normal metabolism attack follicle cells daily. Without sufficient antioxidant defense, this damage accumulates. Vitamins such as C and E, along with polyphenols found in nutrient-dense foods, neutralize these free radicals. Taking them before bed ensures protection during the peak repair window when cells are actively rebuilding. Minerals add another layer of cellular support. Zinc is required for DNA replication inside rapidly dividing follicle cells. Without it, new hair production slows. Selenium strengthens antioxidant enzymes that protect follicle structures. Magnesium supports energy production within cells, ensuring follicles have the ATP required to sustain growth. When these minerals are delivered consistently at night, they synchronize with the body's repair cycles. Instead of competing with daytime metabolic demands, they go directly toward regeneration. Seniors who adopt this habit often notice that their hair feels stronger at the root. It sheds less easily. It reflects light better. These are signs of improved cellular resilience. There's also a communication factor. Hormones like growth hormone and thyroid hormones rely on follicle receptivity. If follicle cells are damaged or inefficient, they cannot fully respond to those signals. By restoring cellular health, you amplify the effectiveness of every other growth-supporting strategy. It's like upgrading the receiver so the signal comes through clearly. Over time, this combination of structural support, antioxidant protection, mineral replenishment, and optimized cellular repair transforms the scalp environment. Follicles are no longer just surviving aging, they're functioning with renewed strength. And when you combine cellular restoration with balanced hormones, reduced inflammation, improved circulation, and precise nutrient timing, you create something rare after 50, a sustainable foundation for long-term regrowth. So the question now becomes, what does this simple nightly spoon actually look like in practice, and how do you turn all of this science into one consistent habit that fits effortlessly into your routine? That's where everything comes together. That's where everything comes together. After understanding hormones, inflammation, circulation, cellular repair, and nutrient timing, you might be wondering, what is this simple nightly spoon, and how does it realistically fit into your life? Here's the truth. It's not about a miracle powder or an extreme protocol. It's about a concentrated, nutrient-dense combination that delivers collagen-supporting amino acids, essential fatty acids, trace minerals like zinc and selenium, antioxidant compounds, and hair-supportive vitamins, all in one small, consistent serving before bed. For many people over 50, this can be as simple as a spoonful of a carefully chosen nutrient blend that includes collagen peptides, ground seeds rich in omega-3s, and mineral-dense natural foods. The key is concentration and consistency. You're not snacking randomly. You're strategically fueling repair. Timing matters. About 30 to 60 minutes before sleep is ideal. This allows digestion to begin just as your body transitions into its nighttime hormonal rhythm. Growth hormone begins to rise. Cortisol declines. Cellular repair mechanisms activate. Blood flow redistributes toward restoration instead of daytime activity. At that moment, your follicles are more receptive than at any other time of day. Instead of nutrients being diverted toward immediate energy needs, they are directed toward rebuilding tissues. Amino acids become keratin, collagen strengthens the follicle base, zinc supports DNA replication, selenium enhances antioxidant enzyme, essential fatty acids integrate into scalp cell membranes, antioxidants neutralize free radicals generated throughout the day. Night after night, this creates compounding benefits. What's important to understand is that this isn't about instant results. Hair grows in cycles. Follicles need time to shift from dormancy back into activity. But when you remove inflammation, stabilize hormones, improve circulation, restore cellular efficiency, and provide precise building blocks at the optimal time, you remove nearly every major barrier that blocks regrowth after 50. And something powerful happens when barriers are removed. Shedding begins to slow. New strands feel slightly thicker. The scalp feels healthier, less dry, less tight. Over several months, density improves, not because of force, but because you finally supported your biology instead of fighting it. This approach is safe, it's natural, it respects the way the body already works. There are no harsh chemicals, no invasive procedures, no extreme interventions, just alignment with your internal repair system. Many people spend years chasing external solutions without ever addressing internal timing. But when you understand that growth hormone peaks during deep sleep, that inflammation silently shrinks follicles, that hormones shift after 50, and that aging cells need structural support, the strategy becomes clear. You don't need to overwhelm your body. You need to support it consistently. One spoon, one habit, every night. Over time, that small decision compounds into visible change not only in your hair, but in your confidence and overall scalp health. Thicker strands, stronger roots, better resilience. If you're over 50 and you've been feeling like thinning hair is simply something you have to accept, I hope this shifts your perspective. Aging does not mean surrendering vitality. It means adjusting strategy. Now I'd love to hear from you. Comment your age and the country you're watching from so we can see how far this message is reaching. And if this helped you understand your hair in a completely new way, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs to hear this. Your next night's routine could be the turning point your hair has been waiting for.